Hi everybody, Tony with Shinsho Yoga, and today I would like to talk about chair pose, or known in Sanskrit as Utkatasana, also sometimes referred to as fierce pose or invisible chair pose. Chair pose is often found in your vinyasa, generally in, well, I guess it really depends on the teacher, but generally in your what's called the sun salutation sequence, usually your sun Bs, and could be put in any really part of a pose there. More of a heat building pose than a cooling pose, so not something you're going to do during a wind down, but during the build up or the height of a vinyasa, any type of hatha flow, you'll be coming into chair. And chair is a good pose as a teacher because you have a lot of modifications with it that you can do. Some for access of the pose, so if you struggle with access to the pose, there are some modifications, and a flow might be challenging to make happen just because you got to use some props. But as a teacher, you can add a lot of things like twists and eagle arms and figure four and all different ways of doing it. But today, I just want to offer you your basic chair pose and a modification for you if you have some challenges with it. Chair pose is going to require, though, basically an openness in the legs, right, and somewhat in the shoulders. Mainly it's going to be in the legs. The challenges that I see for most people and the ones that I have for myself. If you have tightness in the ankles, right, some people do, this pose can be very challenging. If you have tightness in the quads and the upper part of the leg here, this pose can be challenging. If you have tightness in the shoulders, this pose can be challenging because as we extend our arms and look to lengthen the spine there, if there is tightness there in the shoulders, to be able to come into the somewhat seated position, for lack of a better term, and maintain the arms the way they are can be challenging. But you're generally not going to be holding this pose for extended periods of times, and in my class, you're usually holding it at most about 5 breaths and then come out, unless we're doing twists and modifications with it. Then you might hold it a bit longer. But again, the challenges you'll run into are going to be legs, ankles, shoulders, being legs, especially front of the legs, and ankles being the more challenging one, and shoulders adding into that. What the pose is good for is going to be good to help open the legs up, right, and create length through the spine. This position, like all standing positions in Hatha Yoga, you want to create length through the spine. So as we sit back into the invisible chair, we want to be able to let our tailbone sink and our crown lift, getting that spinal expansion that we always look for in standing poses. Okay? So let's get into it here. And I'm going to give you the basics and modification with it. So, for our standard chair pose, you're going to want to bring your feet together. Now, they don't have to be pushed in like this, and everyone's body is different. And men, because our anatomy is different than women, you're going to basically want to have a little bit of space, generally as a gap between your feet. You don't have to have them zippered in, but you don't want them like this. They need to be brought together. You basically are going to want so that the legs are going down this way. We don't want them out either way. We don't want them in line with the hips. We want them brought in so it brings a line down like this, because that's how our lines are going to go in this. One line is going to go down this way. The other line is going to go up. So we want to bring our feet together, and then you are going to, with your breath, begin to sit back as if there is a chair coming underneath your backside. This is where bringing the legs together really helps, because you can use the knees to come together to help as somewhat of a support here when you do this. All right? Now, as we sink into this, right, we are bringing our backside back this way. It's not like this. We're not going like this, right? And we're not just going here like this. You want to have the back side sink back as if there is a chair behind you. And from here, you're going to bring your arms up above your head. Have them long. Have the shoulders relaxed and gaze up towards the fingers. Now, in our posture here, in our Hatha posture, and I'm going to just come down here to show you the arms a little bit better because I'm limited in room here. We don't want that shortening of the thoracic spine, right? You want length through it. So in order to get that length through the spine, you have to have the shoulders be relaxed. Now, to create more length, you can pack up the shoulders by just a little shuffle forward, but you don't want to hunch up. You just want to work up and create that length while keeping the spine long. So as I come into it, the feet come together, sweep the arms, sit back, and then I can pack up the shoulders and I can actually get more length with it that way. And breathe and gaze up towards the fingertips. Now, if you have trouble with the feet in this, so if you have tension in the ankles that is causing you to not be able to go flat-footed, right? So you're in like this, right? You can't get those heels down. With a blanket. Most studios have them. Should. Roll it up. You can take one or you can take two, right? Folds like that. This is what I often refer to as a yoga burrito, right? When you fold it over just from here to here, this way, or you can take it one further, this way, depending on what your heels need. If you just take it one over to the burrito, bring your heels onto it, bring your feet together. That support can help you sink back. And again, breathe. I wouldn't suggest more than that height-wise unless your ankles are really, really tight and you can't sink further back into it, because that, believe it or not, is a lot of height, right? And what it's doing is really pitching you forward. But if you can't sink because you're on your toes doing a wobble, grab a blanket, bring it underneath. In a flow, that might be challenging because you're moving quickly, especially if you're in a sun salutation sequence, to grab that blanket and put it in. But look, you work it out. You do what you need to do in your flow. Sometimes what I do is I keep the blanket, if this is the front of my mat, this is the back, I just keep it back here, like this. I use it in down dog, sometimes to put under my heels to help open the back of the legs. You could keep it there. Your teacher says go into chair pose, just step to the back of the blanket, the back of the mat, get on the blanket, come into it, and when he wants you to come out, you step back forward and go through the flow. That's knowing your body. And that's what yoga is about that self-care. You're learning your body. I would encourage you, as you do your practice of yoga, as I tell all my students, don't compare yourself with others. Don't worry about what the person next to you does. Don't worry about what you see on social media. Well, I guess this is social media, and this is kind of a different case because I'm trying to teach you. But don't worry about those accounts that you see where you see someone doing something that's unbelievable. Like, oh my God, I guess that's that pose, and I'm not doing it right. Doing it right is doing it right for your body, right? That you're doing this as self-care. It's not a competition. Competition only weakens and defeats you. In the end, competition will beat you no matter what. So put in an honest effort, right? Follow your breath, modify as needed, and as I say, you're doing yoga at that point. Don't worry about the rest of it. Just do the best you can for your body that day. Some days you're Gumby, some days you're the Tin Man. It's okay. Just breathe. Follow the breath. Return to the breath. As your thoughts arise, you'll acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, return to the breath. Over and over and over. If you're doing that, you're doing yoga. That's all you have to do. The rest of this is a means to an end, and you do the best with it you can and put in an honest intention. So, Utkatasana, invisible chair, chair pose, fierce pose. Tension in the legs may be a challenge there. It is a standing pose, so we want length. Don't shorten up the thoracic spine. Keep it long. That's all. Namaste.